All right, good morning. So I'm back on the Mustang today. Mustang's running pretty good. I put a new transmission in it in Montana, and I drove it back all the way 1,000 miles. Made it no problems. If you're interested in seeing how to do a transmission swap on one of these and how easy it is, go ahead and check that video out. I think it has about 10 views, so feel free to check it out. Anyway, I'm back on the Mustang. The problem I'm having right now is that I have no blower. So, I got the ignition on. Sorry, the sun's in your eyes there, but I don't have it running, so that's why I got all those lights on. But yeah, I have no blower. So this car does not have AC. It just needs to be charged. So I was not trying to run the AC, but when it rains, it's been so rainy lately, I do want to run the defrost. And the last time I tried to run it, nothing. So let me give you a little background. So what was happening was it was working. It would take a second to come on. Like I could turn it on. I really didn't hear anything, and then all of a sudden it would kick on. So there could be a couple things going on here if you're not familiar with a blower or fan this is obviously a switch. It's running from low to high. So in line there is a blower, a physical fan that comes on and off. The fan just runs at one speed. It literally, you could put 12 volts to it. It's running on high all the time. So the reason that it's allowed to run on these lower speeds is that in line, and I believe it's down under there somewhere, we have a blower motor resistor. So it's exactly how it's described. Like it's resisting the voltage. So, instead of sending 12 volts to the blower, it's only going to send, and I'm just guessing here, don't quote me on these numbers, maybe on 1 it sends 6, and then on 2 it sends 8, and then on 3 it sends 10, and then on 4 it's getting full 12 volts, so it's running on high. So usually when the blower motor resistor goes out, you will only have high. So if that blower motor resistor fails, you don't usually lose the fan altogether or the blower altogether. It usually defaults to just high, like the resistor has failed, and so as a default it's sending full 12 volts all the time. And in that case, you have none of these lower speeds. But see, in my case, I don't even have a high. And like I said, when I ran it in the past, I could turn it on and there was a slight delay. It's almost like the blower didn't come on immediately, but then it would kick on. Well, now, obviously, it's not doing anything. So I almost wonder if it's the blower itself. Either that or I have a blown fuse. But we're going to check that stuff. But the reason I think I don't have a blown fuse is that in the past it would come on. Like if a fuse goes, it just goes. You don't get it some of the time, and then some of the time it doesn't work. Like a fuse is literally a fusible link. If that's broken, you have no voltage whatsoever. So yeah, so what we're going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the blower motor. I'm going to put 12 volts to the blower motor and see if it works. That would be the easiest thing to me. In my mind, that's the easiest thing to do. I have no idea where the plug-in is for that, so I'm going to start under the hood. I do have a manual for this car. Would it be easier to look in the manual? Probably. But I'm in the street now, and that's in the house, so if I don't find it under the hood, I'll go get the manual. All right, so here I am. I'm outside, and I apologize my shadow. It's early in the morning, and you just got to do what you got to do. So this is a 4.0. Obviously, a 5.0 or a 4.6 or some other engine is going to be different. But the blower should be the same. The physical engine's going to be different. The engine might take up different space in the engine bay, but the blower is going to be the same across all these Mustangs. And immediately, I remembered that I got a battery right there. That's where the heater box should be, on the other side of the firewall. And obviously I got the battery right there, so I am gonna go ahead and peek inside. If there is some sort of blower down in there, I hope I don't have to take the battery out to get to it. But maybe it is accessible from the inside, so let me go back inside and check that out. All right, so here I am. I'm under the passenger side dash, and yeah, that circular, if I can even point to it, the circular apparatus right here, that is the blower. So yeah, it is accessible from under the footwell of the passenger side of the vehicle. So, and it looks like, if I can peek my my head in here. Looks like that's the plug actually to the blower right there. So I think I'm gonna start there, pull that plug, and then put 12 volts to it to see if it works. Sometimes the hardest part about doing anything is just the dang clip. Okay, so if you can see what I'm looking at there, it literally has 2 electrical connections inside of there. One is for 12 volts and the other is for ground. So yeah, if we look at this plug, this should be coming. There should be a blower motor resistor somewhere in here in line, so. But yeah. So I'm gonna figure out which one of those is which and then put 12 volts to the correct one. All right, so how I'm gonna do this is I actually have one of these power probes, okay? These things are really handy. Go ahead and get yourself one on Amazon. I don't know, I think I paid $75 for it, you know? I don't know that this is the actual genuine power probe. I think this is like Autel or something, but it was not that expensive. And if you're going to be doing any sort of diagnosis on electrical equipment, it's going to come in handy, because if you take it to a shop, they're going to charge you that in the first 15 minutes. So you're going to wish that you had one of these. So I got it hooked up to the battery. There's my 12.3 volts coming off the battery. So I'm not an expert on fans. I feel like what's going to happen is if I do have this hooked up backward, it's either not going to run or the fan's going to run backward. I really don't know though, so I'm just guessing at this point. But anyway, so I got my ground that's coming off my power probe. I don't know, that one seems easier to actually just put it on right now. So that's telling me that it is grounded. There we go, you heard it. So the fan works. So just out of curiosity, what happens if I ground the other side? I can't see nothing under here. Does it actually run the other way? Yeah. So I don't know which way is which, but anyway, you can hook it up. You could ground either side of the plug and you can put 12 volts to the other side. It's either gonna run forward or backward, like I suspected. Okay, so that's interesting because the fan appears to be working. So maybe I do have a blown fuse. So let me check that out next. Alright, so I was actually looking in the manual that I had. I just have like a cheapy Haynes manual, and you know, it was fruitless. It didn't give me any information in the fuse box, and this car, when I got it, it had no manual in the glove box, because apparently someone threw that out when they threw out their other trash in the glove box. So I was looking online, and it says that, and that makes more sense to me, there's actually a blower motor relay. So if you don't know anything about fuses, like these tiny little guys down here, these are fuses. These are some sort of fuse. I'm not 100%, I think that's a fuse, but these ones over here, these are relays. Meaning that the relay is getting 12 volts directly from a direct source, and the switch inside the vehicle is only turning the relay on and off, and that's to prevent, you know, overloading the wiring and burning everything up. So yeah, these are relays, and so it has a blower motor relay. I do think that one of these over here is for the blower motor as well. Sorry, there's like a plane going overhead right now, of course. But yeah, I'm not even sure. I mean, I can check these. You could probe, you know, either side of these to tell if it's working. I actually don't know how to check these. I don't know if you can like probe the side of it. I'm not an electrical expert. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in the vehicle, and I'm actually gonna find the blower motor resistor. And I'm going to check on the input side of that resistor to see if I'm getting 12 volts. Alright, so here I am, I'm back under the dash. And what I am focused on right there is the blower motor resistor. It has 2 bolts on either side. It has a big plug in the middle. So that is what I'm going to remove, and I'm going to probe this connection coming into it. I have no idea what size those nuts are, so I have, oh, I can't even see this. Isn't that size? So yeah, I went in the house, and of course it is going to be metric, so it looks like it's 8 millimeter. You know, one time in my life, I would like things on the top side of the car to break down. You know what I mean? Like, it is so hard laying under a dash, and when you can't see nothing. So with blower motor resistors, I have found that it's actually easiest just to unplug the resistor and then go ahead and unplug, you know, like take it out. The easiest thing I found is to take out the resistor and then go ahead and unplug it, because sometimes, you know, reaching above your head trying to unplug something is awful, to say the least. So this is an unusual type resistor. I'm used to working on old cars where it's actually wiring, so you can see kind of a little imprint of the wiring on it. So it's kind of, you know, usually it's like a bird cage, you know, you literally have wires, you know, like going back and forth like 6 times. But yeah, this is a different type, but still the same principle. So if we look at this wire, looks like I have black, I got green, I got red and black, and I have yellow and red. So the fan needs to be grounded, and I'm assuming that black is ground. I don't know, I'm just assuming. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I should be able to provide ground with my power probe. So this is black. I don't know why that's not working. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why it's not. I mean, maybe the fuse is blown, because if it's getting controlled by the ground, upstream from this, I mean, I should be getting 12 volts on one of these. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and check the relay. I think it's good. I swapped it out with another relay, and it really made no difference on the blower motor, but I'm just going to check it anyway and show you how to check it. So most relays have a little diagram here. It's talking about what's happening. If you can see on the left there, 8586, that actually stands for resistor in my case. Some of them might have a diode in that 8586 spot, and it will look different, but mine is a resistor. And then 87 and 30, as you can see, it's kind of like a little barn door swinging open there. That's a switch. And so when 8586 is energized, it creates a magnetic field, and it closes 87 through 30. So we should be able to check to see if 87 and 30 is working by applying power to 85 and 86. You don't have to have it plugged in to do this. If you supply power to 8586, that's going to create a magnetic field, and it should click the relay shut. And you should be able to, I should be able to feel it. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it on camera, but I'll show you how to do it. So if we flip it over, it's probably very hard to see, but it's numbered on the bottom. So 30 on the left, we got 35, on the left we have 30 on the top, 85 on the bottom. On the right we have 86 and 87. So like I said, we're going to close 85 to 86. Or I'm sorry, not close 85. We're going to apply voltage to 85 and 86. So I'm going to apply voltage to the bottom. I'm going to apply voltage to the bottom left. All right, so there we are. I got my ground, still using my power probe. Got my ground on the bottom left. I'm gonna apply 12 volts to the top right. So that's just telling me it's actually grounded. You probably can't hear it over my power probe, but it is working. I can actually feel it clicking. So that, all right, so that is okay. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna go ahead and check is I'm gonna check this resistor. So this is the blower motor resistor like I described earlier. It's got 4 pins in there. And if I look at my diagram there, that's the blower motor resistor. Looks like one of the pins is black, and that goes right to ground. And then I have a yellow, red, light green and white, orange and black. So if I connect the black to ground, I should be able to check continuity against all the other 3 pins, and I should have 0, meaning that the resistor is good. Like if there's a broken contact inside the resistor, then it's obviously not going to work. All right, and I already verified by plugging it in. If you look at the wording there, like on the very left where that 06 is, that 0, that's black for me. That really has nothing to do with the colors, but just for a reference for myself. On the side that had the 06, that is black for me. All right, so here I am. On the very left, I got my ground of my power probe plugged into black. So if you notice on my power probe, I got, voltage, alternating voltage, ohms. So I want to be on the ohm setting. That is how you test continuities on the ohm setting. So I should be able to touch this. If I touch this to the plug and I get 0, that means I have 0 resistance between my black clip and my power probe. But it should be the same thing throughout. You should have a straight connection through this resistor. So if I touch this, there I got 0. And there I got 0. So I'm just going along. And there I got 0. So this resistor, in theory, should be good. But I'm still having problems. And when I had plugged it in a second ago, because I was thinking, am I losing my mind? Like maybe the system does work. And I plugged it in for a second, and I turned, went over to the climate control, turned everything on. I did hear it come on low. And then I was like, oh, is it working? And then I went ahead and turned it up, to 2 and 3 and 4. And then it shut off. Well, this actually does get very hot. So my thought is that possibly this is actually getting really hot. And, when things heat up, they expand and move. Like maybe when it's heating up, like it's breaking the connection. So I am going to actually run to the store. I've tested everything else in this system, and everything else seems to be working. Like the relay's good, the fuse is good, the blower is good. I mean, I don't really have a way to test that, but that is coming on, because when I turned it on to like 1, 2, 3, and 4, out in the engine, in the bus electrical center, or whatever they call it, the fuse box, I was getting voltage to that relay, so that should be working. Well, actually, I shouldn't even say voltage. I was getting a ground from that because the system is controlled by ground. So I'm actually going to run up to, I hate to run to AutoZone and get anything cheap like that. I'd rather get a Motorcraft one, but I'm kind of antsy to see if this works. And they have one in stock, so I'm going to run up there and grab that and see if it works. All right, here's the one I got from AutoZone. Looks similar, so let's plug it in and see if it works. All right, I am back on my blower motor today. So last week, sorry, I had to come inside. It's kind of raining outside, so I'm sitting in the garage right now with a very bright light that's blinding me, so hopefully it is not blinding you. Anyway, last week I went to AutoZone, and I think I was describing that I got a blower motor resistor, hoping that that would fix my problem. Like, I went through the relays, I didn't see any issues there. I actually tested the blower motor itself. I didn't see any issues. So honestly, my last resort was kind of the blower motor resistor. I was thinking that maybe it was getting hot and it wasn't making a connection, so I did run to AutoZone. It cost like 25 bucks. Normally I do not like to throw parts at something, but in this case I did. And I should turn this on first. So here we go. Yeah, nothing. Absolutely nothing. So that is a perfect example of why you don't throw parts at things. So yeah. So I was kind of just, thinking about things, and I think my next step is going to be actually behind that. So I wonder, there's a plug back here that actually plugs into this. I wonder if I had this out before because I was doing some work on the shifter. So this thing was actually boogered up galore. So if you want to see how to fix one of those, check out my other video. But yeah, there's a plug-in in the back of this, and I wonder if when I had this whole thing apart, if somehow I did not get that plug connected correctly. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this whole thing out here, and we'll see if I see anything. All right, so here is what it looks like. Here's what it looks like all ripped apart. Clearly I have a dog in here, and I have a lot of dog hair that was underneath there. I just kind of shoved everything in the back seat. I'm not going to go through taking any of that apart because that's it's super easy and readily available online. So if you want to take that piece out, it's not very hard. You got a couple screws down there. There were actually a couple, if you see there's two nuts. If you open up the center console, there's two nuts you got to take off. There's two screws up there you take out. The top piece comes off. You got to pull the emergency brake up, and then up here it kind of unbolts. There's one on each side. You don't even have to take this out of park. This piece right here was held in kind of right here. We had some bolts, and then this piece came away. This is the plug that I'm talking about right there. So that's the plug. So I actually, when this was still in place, I did kind of reach around the back. I wiggled the plug. I made sure I had it plugged in, and I was testing it, and it still did not work. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to start testing this. And I'm actually going to check this plug down here. Like, this is the plug that plugs into the back of that. So, I mean, it's possible that maybe that plug is, something's going on with that plug. Or this is actually bad. Like, if this is bad, this does come apart, and you can replace it. So, no big deal there. But that's what I'm going to do next. All right, I just want to show you real quick. I've had an issue with the blower motor on this vehicle. And the blower motor, is right up there. You can see it. There's the plug. There's the actual wiring coming out of it. That's the plug. It's that pink and white, and then that orange one. I've had an issue for a while where the blower just goes on and off. Like, it'll be on, and then all of a sudden it'll go off. And then recently, like, it just won't turn on at all. And this is what I found out. Behind this panel, you have a junction box of some sort. And then right to the right, you can kind of barely see in there, there's another plug. So to get this off, this just pops up. This right here just kind of pulls out of here. Just kind of comes out. If I can do this one-handed. I've already had this off, so that's why it came off so easily. So this just comes out of here. So your issue, God, my dog has been shedding in my car. So the issue is that water gets behind here. So that's what we were looking at. I think it's called the smart junction box over there. This is the plug right here that I wanted to talk about. just for ease of use. This is just held in with some of those little Christmas trees. I just pulled it off just to get a better grab on it. This thing comes apart. You kind of have to squeeze at the bottom and then pull it apart. So yeah, you just squeeze at the bottom and they come apart here. So the wires that you're concerned of, like I said, coming out of that is a pink and a white. Right there's a big fat pink and a white. And if we look at the wiring diagram, there's the blower motor. Right there, I have it highlighted, PKWH. That means pink and white. That is coming right out of the resistor, the blower motor, or I'm sorry, that's not the blower motor resistor. That is coming from the relay. It's going to the motor, and then it's going back through the resistor, and then ultimately to the switch. So there's corrosion. So if you look at that right there, see that one right there? It's a little bit brown. That guy right there, that's a little bit brown. That's that pink wire. So yeah, I think I just had so much corrosion in there that when I was turning it on, even looking at this plug, there is a lot of corrosion in there. And if you look at the back, there it is, there's that pink one. So it's one of these big studs on that side. All right, so to remedy this, I took a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of sandpaper. I just kind of folded it over on itself, put the sandpaper in there, and then I just kind of fed it back and forth. You can kind of hear it scratching. So yeah, I did that a number of times. You know, I don't know what that big fat plug next to it is, that green one there, but I actually cleaned out that one too. I took a little bit of sandpaper. This time I took a little bigger piece. I'm at work and somebody's whipping shitties in the parking lot at work. And then I put it in here and I just kind of rubbed it on, on the, so you just want to try to get any of the corrosion off that you can. Yeah. And then voila. I went ahead, I plugged it back in. I actually took a can of compressed air and I blew it in there just to make sure I didn't have any dust in there. I went ahead, I plugged it back in. And then yeah, I already heard it come on. Yeah, can you believe that? This whole time I've been chasing relays, and I even, when a blower motor resistor fails, usually you get high speed, but I even doubted myself there, thinking, well, maybe there was something wrong with the resistor. Yeah, it was that stinking plug, and like I said, this area tends to get wet, so if you have a cowl drain, way up there, you have something called a cowl drain, and there's actually a filter that's going through the cowl. If that is plugged, you'll get water in this area. So yeah, there you go. 1-minute video on how to fix your blower motor.